Good evening, family and friends. Welcome back to Election Night. Dr. Leslie, forensic psychologist, talking about how we are all manipulated in this world, particularly now that it's election night, but also honing in on celebrities, craziness, batshit crazy people, government things, my court cases, trials, things in the news from just a gal in Southern California that you might find interesting who has a perspective that probably no one else really has. I'm exhausted today because I did several psychological assessments and evaluations. So, one thing I am, largely what I am lately, is an expert in civil litigation. So, I am retained as an expert by an attorney. The attorney then asks me to assess usually the post injury psychological damages in a person. So, if they're alleging that they were harmed in a sexual way or any way, I want to see how were they harmed? What does that look like? What happens post incident? But we have to determine that by understanding who they are pre incident, right? And that is everything. That is religion. That is substance use. That is family. That is friends. That is education. That is employment. What was work like? What were your colleagues like? I mean, it's like 4 hours, 5 hours of really in depth questioning. And I'm typing as we're talking and we're tracking it. And it's very, very important. And then we move over to more objective testing. And then we move back to structured interviews. And again, these tests are normed on hundreds of thousands of people. And we look at the truth and the validity over several tests, not just one. So if you ever go to court and some psychologist says, oh, I'm going to give you the PAI or the MMPI personality test and it's just one, no fucking way. You'll be ripped apart on cross. You need multiple tests to show that this is an entirely different subset and it still showed that the patient was valid, maybe inconsistent, maybe infrequent, faking good, faking bad, whatever it is, good or bad. It has to still be consistent across completely different tests. That's that reliability measure that we learn in school. It's a big word that I still don't fully understand, but whatever. So I spent the day doing that twice. And although it's good money and at the end of the day it's justice. At the end of the day, whether I'm hired by the plaintiff or the defense, I don't care. I'm going to really look at a human being and see if what they're alleging is true and what it's done to them. And it's actually utterly exhausting. I take notes thoroughly throughout, but I give myself a day to kind of be like, wait, where was I manipulated? What happened? Where were the inconsistencies? Let me review it. And then I kind of come to my conclusions and I start writing. So it should be something that a person can do in a week. If you hire an expert, you shouldn't be paying for months and months and months unless there's just a gross amount of materials that they have to review. But definitely talk to an expert before you hire them about their efficiency. Like I right now would not hire an expert who writes things by hand and then has them transcribed. I wouldn't hire an expert who only wants things delivered by like snail mail and reads. It's not efficient. Your money's going to get eaten up and there's no purpose. I definitely that's my niche. Yeah. Anyways, niche. Who cares? It's election day in America, and I have watched the news a little bit, and it seems like America is turning blue just because they want to say fuck Trump, or because Trump has been so diabolical since he came in that even people who voted for Trump, who voted for him because he was going to fix money in this country, he was going to release the Epstein files, he was going to be a real human being, and he was actually going to stand on the things that he said when he was elected last time. And none of that has come true. And so people who voted for him this time are actually turning against him because he's not Republican and definitely not a Democrat. He's not anything. And I think they're seeing that he lied on a lot of this information. And I commend them for actually having the insight and the wherewithal to say, hey, I trusted him and we were wrong. I have to say, I never trusted him. I always thought that his history, his personality, even if we go back to Rosie O'Donnell's comments, I always found him untrustworthy from the beginning. And the layers of sexual abuse allegations against him and his relationships and his money hungry lifestyle were worrisome to me. And when, most politicians suck. Most politicians get into power because they want power. They want authority. They want to dictate the lives of others. And that is a certain personality characteristic. There are scientific articles on the personalities of politicians, but Trump was next level. He was next level with all of these attributes. And there are tons of studies written about him as well. I never fell for it. I never wanted to vote entirely blue, but I certainly didn't want to vote for Trump. And I felt very confused and I felt very angry that I had to even pick a side when neither side made sense. And now we are in day, like, I don't know, 300 of the government shutdown. And I'm still feeling this anger because I feel like the Democrats are not being forthcoming with why the government is shut down. And I feel like the Republicans are not being forthcoming with why the government is shut down. A huge part of that, I do think, is the release of the Epstein files and signing in a Democrat. But also, I think a huge part of that is because the left want to slide things in with health reform and with the food stamps and SNAP, and they're not being transparent with everything that they are trying to actually add. And so I ask you as an adult, why can't we just have a conversation and a temporary agreement and then work on it from there? Can we not put our narcissism and antisocial personality traits and psychopathy and desire to just consume the most powerful government in the world and be in charge? Can we not put that aside? Because literally, people are drinking a lot of water at night so they don't feel the hunger in their stomachs because they don't have fucking food. They don't have any SNAP money. And no, Caroline Levitt, you fucking asshole. It's not because they do drugs. A lot of people simply can't afford to feed their families or themselves. A lot of people have medical ailments that prevent them from actually working. That narrow-minded focus, again, is very right wing, which drives me crazy. But then the left is also too much, too much. There are a lot of people that are abusing government benefits. So why again can we not slow this down? Why again can we not figure out how to methodically estimate what we need to do with government funding, just like we would with weapons or guns? Why can we not implement red flag laws, but not make people feel like they're losing their Second Amendment rights? If you're fucking nuts, you shouldn't have access to a gun. I don't think that has anything to do with your Second Amendment. I think it is way more important to choose the safety of the world and the community. Why can't we have these conversations? Why do they have to be so fucking diabolical that the government is shut down and people are starving? I'll have to look up the jingle in New York because I mean, he is all over fucking TikTok and everywhere. He's showing up at clubs. I think Newsom, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. You got to really do it. You got to do it like Mom Donnie did it. Oh, trials. I read an article today. I'm going to post a video about it, but about how this woman linked up with this guy and they grabbed a mom and her two kids. They killed the mom. They kept the children ages 4 and 6. Trigger warning. This is graphic. Zoom forward a minute. They sexually abused the 4-year-old and then took her life. But then they kept the 6-year-old around and they kept her in a ditch in Mississippi. And she was with her dead sister. And they used her as a sex slave. Yeah, that really happened. That really fucking happened in the sticks of Mississippi. And yeah, they get a plea deal. So because the woman, and I name everyone in my Instagram and TikTok videos, but the woman said that she would basically, narc on the guy in trial. She doesn't have to deal with federal charges. She's going to go through a state case and state charges. He gets to get a plea deal, which means we don't get to kill him. He gets to live. He gets to live in prison on our taxpayer money. He gets a plea deal. I hope you guys fucking understand that when attorneys offer plea deals to these horrific wastes of skin, these cunts in life, I hope you understand the families don't get a say. The families don't get a say in the sentencing. And the families should have a fucking say. The families should determine what happens to these horrific individuals, these psychopathic, sadistic motherfuckers who I think we should kill. I think they deserve the death penalty. And in this case is really fucking extreme. I am all for, in Mississippi, lethal injection, and that's what he would get. Just get him out of this world. God forbid he ever be free. End his life. Make sure he can't harm anyone else. I wish I had any fucking authority to get the plea deal off the table, but I think it's way far gone. So November and December will be when we see the outcome of that horrific trial and these people who should not be alive. And yes, I say that as a benevolent, all loving psychologist. I have seen the worst of the worst. And yes, they exist. And yes, we warehouse them away so that none of you ever get to see them in every single country. Well, actually, a lot of countries just off them themselves. But in America, we tend to house them. We tend to use our tax money to treat them, even though psychopathic individuals cannot be treated because there's nothing to treat. So all they learn is how to mirror those empathic interns and young students and use that to manipulate the hospital staff, the prison staff, and harm more people. It's science, guys. There's not a lot of celebrity drama going on. I mean, I'm gonna watch Kim K's show. I shouldn't even call it her show because there's so many like notable actresses in it. But I guess what really stood out to me is that it got a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, as somebody who has been the subject of hate and smear campaigns, I fully understand that all of these ratings may not be related to the actual show. They may be related to the fact that people just hate Kim Kardashian and her family and Kanye West, and they're heavily linked in conspiracy theories to child trafficking and all of this shit. But I'm going to watch it for myself and check it out. And yes, people are still at me because of the shopping cart video last year. Bring it on. My God, it gave me so much business. It was such a wonderful idea of a video. But not to take too lightly. I mean, I did get my CCW, my carry. I am always carrying. I have a dog shipped out from Serbia who speaks German and will attack on command. And boy, I have security when I go out. You just don't see it. Not to talk about Trump too much, but he was really kind of like crashing out on Truth Social. And yes, oh my God, I finally downloaded Truth Social. I'm just following Trump because I want to see what he's doing and what he's saying. And wow, it is like late in the afternoon every day. People are referring to it as sundowning, which is kind of a dementia lingo process. I don't know, but he is just kind of like going a little typo crazy when it comes to the afternoon and all of his comments. And so he definitely was making comments about Jewish people today. He was freaking out about the election today on Truth Social. And like, come on, like, maybe you should hold back for like a day or two if anyone had any control over you, because you could still influence the elections and people going out and the impact of how people are voting. But instead, you're saying fuck SNAP benefits and fuck Jews. Okay. I don't know how many people are left that you haven't hurt or harmed or said nasty, horrible things about. Tomorrow will be an interesting day since so many Democratic wins happened today. But again, the left and the right both offer this emotional certainty with such clarity and confidence and entirely different views. Talk about manipulation. Now, propaganda. Here's the thing about propaganda is when you feel overwhelmed or confused, you are going to want to listen to somebody who gives you the big picture, who you align with easily. And they often do that because they offer a subtle, static amount of emotion. And so you're going to align with them. You're going to be like, I don't really know entirely what they're saying all the time, but I'm going to align with them because they make me feel at ease because they are propaganda. The thing with propaganda is that it hones into your emotional self. And so right now we are all feeling anxious. We don't know what's happening. The world feels like chaos and we don't want to sit with this discomfort. So we're going to go align ourselves with somebody who offers us comfort. That's somebody who's well versed in propaganda. That's manipulation. And I fully understand that most of us don't have the effort, don't have the energy, don't have the time to siphon through all of the bullshit of politics and government and world wars and everything that's going on. But that's what propaganda preys on. But one thing I do think is that it's not radicals that came out today. It's not radicals. It's not 750,000 people in New York that came out today to vote blue. It's because Trump has made people so angry, so confused, so emotional, and so fucking scared. There's over 40 million Americans on SNAP benefits, and he took them away. And everyone would say, oh, he didn't do it. He's the president. Yeah, he's the fucking president. He is the authority. He could change. He could change the SNAP benefits. He could fund them immediately. "Oh, well, there's no money. There's no" well, there is fucking money, and he could find it. There was money if the government hadn't been shut down. So those arguments to me are bullshit. So we have a day of just manufactured news urgency, tons of moral clickbait, and most people feeling like they have no control and no fucking food. So I don't know. I have no therapeutic advice at this point other than go let your mind rest. Watch something inconsequential, watch something stupid. Apparently, it's the new Kim Kardashian show because everyone hates it. So maybe go hate on someone. Maybe you need to put your hate somewhere, or maybe watch something really kind, like dog videos, like when the dogs get to perform and run around the little areas and they're so fucking pleased, especially like the border collies that they like jump into their owner's hands. Yeah, that's not happening with my German Shepherd. I mean, today we got in a full blown like fighting match where she was biting my arms, but she had like those psychotic eyes, you know? And it was because, well, I was just playing with her, but she's a protection dog and that bitch don't play. So I had to scream a lot of German words to calm her down. But, anyways, I'm sure like within a week, I will show you guys that I will have massive bruising on my arms. But again, that bitch don't play, don't fuck with me. I love it. I love her. I still want a bulldog. If you have any breed recommendations. Okay, tomorrow is going to be chaos in the news, at least in America. It's going to impact things all over the world because it is going to impact Trump's power as things move forward. So, start your day with something healthy. Make sure you are grounded in some way. Plan grounding activities. Keep yourself socialized. Keep yourself around people that keep you calm. Limit how much news that you are going to watch. You can check in, but set timers. I always like to say set timers for your bad behavior because at least you know when you get to do it, but and how long you get to do it for. I'll catch you guys tomorrow because I'm sure there's going to be a shit show. No, shit ton. A shit show and a shit ton of information. Have a good night.